Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and talk with business leaders from all over the world who are here sharing their expertise and wisdom so we can all grow together. I'm your host, Heidi Schock, co-founder of HLH Growth Solutions, where we help businesses scale through outside-the-box visibility and automation strategies. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. I'm really excited to have you here today. I'm excited to talk with my guest today. She's going to be sharing her journey and story, and she's from different places in the world, which we're going to hear about, which is super exciting. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my guest, Yousra Gaballah with Sprintly
Yousra Gaballah.
Partners. Yousra
Yeah.
Gaballah with Sprintly
Yeah.
Partners. I love your name.
Yeah.
We were talking behind the scenes,
Thank
like,
you.
I love your
Yeah.
name. I just hope I can
I know
say it
it's
right.
challenging. No, I know
Yes.
it's challenging. Sometimes here I go by Gabby just for, to get my coffee faster at
To get
Starbucks.
your coffee faster. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, Yousra, welcome to the show. And can you start us off by telling us a little bit about yourself, your background, and your role
Sure.
within Sprintly Partners?
Sure. So first, thank you, Heidi, for having me today, and thank you for reaching out or making the time. Actually, super excited to be here. So basically, as I told you, like even before we started, I'm from Egypt originally, and I was born and raised in Alexandria, in Egypt, and then born and raised there, and then I started my undergrad education. I moved to Cairo. Uh, I went to the American University in Cairo. I was doing economics, political economy. Um, and then afterwards, my whole career was focused on business growth and different sizes of business in different industries. Started in telecom, and then it moved to taking care of or driving the growth of Kareem, which is the ride-hailing company of the Middle East that got acquired by Uber. So it's basically Uber the Middle East. And then afterwards, I was leading new logistics programs for Amazon on UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt. And then afterwards, I started focusing on the startup ecosystem and working on the growth and expansion of multiple startups in the region over there. But meanwhile, like I was back and forth between the Middle East and the US for a long time. Actually, I missed to mention, even in my undergrad and postgrad, I came here, I studied at Berkeley, and I went to University of Washington in Seattle, uh, doing the same thing, economics and political economy, which is something that I have been always interested in. And then after a while, I I felt that, you know what, it's about time for the new challenge. And it was like I was reaching a place where I was so comfortable back home, uh, and not in a healthy way, comfortable in a way that I felt like I'm not reaching my full potential. And this is when I felt like, okay, I think it's about time to know what's next. And I didn't know exactly what I'm going to be doing next. Um, So basically, when I came here to the US, it wasn't like a solid plan. It wasn't something that I spent time planning for. It was basically that I came with my parents, okay? And I had it on my mind since I was an undergrad, and I'll walk you through like few details in between that would make all of this making sense. Um, but basically, I came with my parents, and at that time, I was like, why am I postponing this step? Is there like a solid reason why this is not now? And the answer was no, but there wasn't even like a solid reason why this is now. Okay. So I put like at the back of my mind, I put like certain conditions, and I was like, okay, if those happen, if those conditions they happen, then this is going to be like a sign for me to actually move make it now instead of later. Um, and I believe in those stuff. Like I believe that I'm spiritually protected actually. So basically, my conditions were if the first one was if I meet in the first 3 weeks, if I meet with the first founder that want me to support them on their growth and expansion. And the second one had to do with like yoga because I teach yoga and I got certified to teach. I went to Bali like 10 years ago. I got certified to teach yoga. And I back home I had my own studio and stuff. So here I was like, okay, if this is what happens where I find like the first yoga studio where I can teach, then this is going to be like a second sign because I didn't want to be like, moving just for work. I wanted my whole life to settle. And that was one of the main parts that actually always kept me grounded. Um, so I don't know what happened, but the two things happened in the first 3 weeks. So I got my first offer from an e-learning startup that wanted me to support them on their growth. Doesn't mean that I went for it, but I mean, at least it gave me the sign that, you know what, what's the point of postponing? The second thing was I actually started to teach in the first yoga studio, the yoga studio where I had like my very first class, and it was very surprising to me that this actually has been part of my bio and my journey, my yoga journey and my yoga bio. It was always mentioned, this name, this yoga studio specifically, because this is where I learned the first few things of yoga. And this is where I ended up teaching. Uh, so what I've done is that I simply canceled my return ticket and I decided, and I did have a solid plan. It's not like I moved for a specific job, but I also felt like, okay, I had a full-time job back home, and it's not like this is something that is super challenging for me. Like I know like working in a different market definitely is challenging, but I mean, that wasn't something that I was hungry for. I thought that I actually moved and all the circumstances pushed me in this direction because I was meant to build something bigger than just having one job. And so basically, I started building. I was super curious about the startup ecosystem here, and I wanted to work on the same thing that actually made me move. So what made me move was the lack of bridge, the lack of exposure, or the hunger for growth that I wasn't feeling at that time like that I'm 100% fulfilling. So basically, being curious about the startup ecosystem and not knowing from where to start, I started by simply showing up. I started attending all the events, starting even crashing some of them. I started connecting to like the people that I are based here from my connections on LinkedIn, asking for people to actually connect me with others, stuff like that, and then for intros and stuff. And then in the first like 6 months, uh, and it wasn't like a butterfly phase, like it was a roller coaster. Certain days you would feel, wow, I made the decision that I should have made like long ago. And other days you would feel like, what am I doing here? And you start doubting yourself. I'm not saying this to be dramatic. I'm saying this to set the expectations. If anyone is going to be watching this one day, I want them to set the right expectations that restart moving from one country to another completely is like restarting your whole life. You're starting a new community, starting having new friends, figuring out the rules. Like I remember the first year I spent, I don't know, I can't even count it, like how much on parking tickets just for the rules of San Francisco. Um, And to the level that I started to find it insulting. You guys insulting my IQ. Yes. Um, so basically, when I came here, what I started doing is I started connecting to everyone and accelerating this, and then uh, one of one thing led to another, and I started working with like Techstars, the startup accelerator, on mentoring their founders. At the beginning, like I started mentoring like three, four founders, and then afterwards, this grew into like covering the whole cohort. And then in parallel, I started even supporting Expert Dojo, which is in LA. Um, and at the same time, I remember back then, Plug and Play were doing this program that focuses on like the geographical expansion of startups. And they actually reached out at that time to support them on that program as well. So in that first phase, I found that, you know what, I started to have actually connections. I started to have a community. I started to have access to a lot of founders in different stages, to investors, and understanding what they're looking for, what makes them say yes and what makes them say no to a big extent. And at the same time, to experts that have like qualifications that can be supportive or can actually develop um, other businesses to a big extent, and they're willing to do that support and they have the capacity to do it, but it's only that they don't have the access. Okay. And coming from the Middle East, I understand, like I have been working on different sides of business, and as I told you, like different industries, and worked in different markets. So I worked in Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, Saudi Arabia, UAE. Uh, so I kind of have like an understanding of, I mean, given the scope, um, and I know that on the Middle Eastern side, uh, the ecosystem is hungry for innovation. They have the capital in multiple countries, not all of them, but they have the capital. They're willing to invest to actually attract experts and talents from different countries, and they give a lot of incentive for that. Um, but they're lacking two things. I mean, they're lacking diversity, except for UAE, for example, because this is like a hub for diversity, and they're lacking the bridge, especially for, I'm not talking about like governmental entities because this is definitely will have, they can have the access, but I'm talking about like a standard founder who's super resilient, who's ambitious, who's I mean, is building a solid product, and his product is not only solving for a local program, it's not solving for a local problem, it's solving for something more global, so it's scalable. And what is stopping him from going beyond his geographical borders are only the limitation of, or lack of access, or lack of bridge. Okay. So we started building that. That's a long story, right?
It's okay.
So
I'm enjoying
basically,
it.
thank you. So basically, what do we do? What we do as Sprintly is that we try to be this bridge, bridging between the Middle Eastern ecosystem and the US one. Okay. And how do we do that? That's our overall objective. And how we do that? We do it through like three different tracks. The first track is that we call it like expert hands-on support. We work with founders on their growth and expansion, whether from the Middle East to the US or from the US to the Middle East. Okay. And we worked with multiple founders from the Middle Eastern side on their growth here, on their geographical expansion here. And we worked with multiple founders from outside the US to actually expand to the US as well. Okay. So this is one. And what is different between this track and like standard consultancy is that we act as their growth arm that is on ground. So we have a team here and in the Middle East, and We support them, we execute with them for, we work on sprints. That's why it's called Sprintly. So we work on sprints under like very specific objectives, and we start executing with the team for an agreed on period of time uh, to support them on their growth. Cool. And definitely, but we can talk about this later, but like growth comes in different shapes and different forms depending on the stage and on the industry and type of business and all of that. The second track is called the AI Squad. So we have a team of AI experts. So those are people that are part of the companies building the AI of today. You name it, like OpenAI, Dropbox, NVIDIA's. Their role, and they have some sort of Middle Eastern background. Okay, so they are here and they understand the culture and the market over there, and their role is to support bigger enterprise in the Middle East on their innovation. Okay, and this track was built when we found like a very high demand in the Middle Eastern ecosystem for support or for building, like working on their innovation and AI tracks and being part of the AI wave. And their options are super limited. So they can go to big consultancy companies, and we all certain names right now crossed our minds. And they can get like a huge booklet that they would even find it challenging to go through, right? Or they can depend on local talents, which is something that I really respect. But those talents, they were never part of like the companies that are actually building this AI. Um, so they are like, it's as if like they are depending not on the source itself. And then they have the third option, which is what we're building, is getting taught and mentored by experts from those companies, the giant companies that are structuring the economy right now, but at the same time, without having this bridge between them, like having people that actually are part of either the go-to-market or the AI infrastructure, and as well, they have some sort of Middle Eastern background. Okay, so that's the second track. The last track uh, is that we do programs. We run programs. So last year, for example, we have done multiple programs with governments. We are now like working on something called the Saudi Unicorns with the government of Saudi Arabia, supporting the high growth startups that are like in the growth stage up to pre like IPO. And we work with like different entities on their programs, but the ones that we create from scratch, we have done last year. One is called the From Egypt to the Valley. So basically, we partnered with entities like 500 Global, Plug and Play, AUC Venture Lab, which is the first VC in Egypt. They nominated their top startups, and now we select the most relevant ones, took them for a fundraising tour here in the valley, and basically two-thirds of them raised fund. One of them completely moved to San Francisco and now is exiting. Uh, so having this ability of actually supporting founders, changing their story, and even changing the story of the next generation that they bring, like their kids, okay, the education of their kids, everything that is related to the family is something super fulfilling. So right now, we're doing another scale up of that program, and it's called Mina to the Valley. Basically, what we're doing is that we're taking represent like small cohort from each Middle Eastern country, only like a representation from those countries, and connecting them as one cohort Okay. And then this cohort is going to be mentored first by the AI squad, which I was just telling you about, which are experts from companies like OpenAI, NVIDIA, Salesforce, Dropbox, Meta. And then they're going to be coming here in Silicon Valley. We're going to be customizing the experience of each one of them to get them closer to a success story. Yeah, so that's basically, so again, like we work on three things. Our main objective is to bridge between the Middle Eastern ecosystem and the US one, and we work on three things. The first one is expert hands-on support. We support founders on their growth with an executional sprint. The other one is that we have the AI squad, which is experts from AI companies that support bigger enterprise or entities on their innovation in the Middle East. The third one is the programs that we run, and now we are running the MENA to the Valley, and we partnered with entities in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, UAE, Egypt, connecting all of the Middle Eastern ecosystem as one cohort, and taking this cohort, connecting it to the Silicon Valley. So we're actually doing a bridge in multiple ways, multiple bridges.
Thank you so much, Yousra, for sharing all of that with us. You made it very clear on what you do and your journey, and I appreciate your story. We don't get to hear a lot of the background story from many of our guests, so I really appreciate learning all of that and hearing that from you. And you taking the time to do that for us is greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
So when it comes to you know, the businesses that you work with and the founders you work with, many founders believe many times that they have a sales problem, right? When in reality, they have an operations problem. So what have you seen? What are some of the biggest operational bottlenecks that you consistently uncover that are preventing companies from growing?
So I think the first one is a bit it's not like I usually face founders, to be honest, that um, that that are misunderstanding or cannot identify whether this is a sales or operational problem. I face a lot of founders that are not really able to identify the right problem, but sales from operation, what as long as you build the right sales funnel, okay, then this is kind of can be isolated, not isolated, can be identified separately from like a problem coming from operations, right? But on the other side, I think a big challenge for a lot of businesses right now, and especially in markets where things are still not fully like underdeveloped or in the development phase. I think one of the biggest challenges is depending a lot on like human resources, uh, and the lack of automation and lack of tracking. So you cannot, especially for example, I'm going to be giving like an example about logistics, since this is something that usually requires a lot of operations, and at the same time um, it requires a lot of human resources sometimes. So I mean, even like the biggest logistics entity companies, they face like a fluctuation in supply and demand, right? Depending on the seasonality and the offers that they are availing. And this requires that they keep on hiring and letting go, and hiring and letting go, because they don't know, they need to match their cost with the revenue that they are forecasting to generate, right? So I mean, I think this is one of the biggest challenges for their own operations, is managing between the cost and the revenue, okay, and having this equilibrium point, especially if there is no like one straight line where you know exactly like the size of the business that you're going to be having month over month. And this goes back, like if we dig deeper to understand where is this coming from, you would find that the main challenge is because we depend, or they depend a lot on human resources, right? If you're not depending, or if you're depending less, this is like just like a small portion of your cost, then it would have been that you invested already in whatever robotics, and then you start afterwards, the cost itself that you invested already is going to be split among different months, right? And it won't be like you won't be having like a month where you have very low demand but high number of employees that are not at their full capacity, okay, or vice versa.
Mm.
So I mean, going back, like to be very concise regarding this, I think one of the main issues is the high dependence on human resources, while certain things can be automated or can be substituted by other, like whatever, robotics or stuff like that. Yeah.
So you mentioned robotics, and so I want to like segue into AI. And you talked a little bit about AI earlier. So it's becoming part of nearly every business conversation. And it's here. It's not going anywhere. It's here to stay. And more businesses are navigating how to implement it to best serve them, their business, or their clients, or their teams.
Mm.
So how are you using AI within your business? And where do you see AI creating the greatest opportunities?
Okay. So I think that the AI, a lot of this AI wave is causing a lot of excitement on one part and a lot of panic on another part of the
Mm,
world, or even in the same country or the same ecosystem, you would find like certain people very pro this wave and others like very panicking from this wave. And I think at the end of the day, what is going to be happening is that this is just going to be restructuring the way everyone works and the efficiency level, the job structure, and what are like we're going to be finding like new jobs and new tracks that we never thought of.
mm,
Just like, for example, our parents back then, if you would tell them, okay, I'm going to be a TikToker, they wouldn't even, I mean, I don't fully understand it till now. You know what I mean? So I mean, this is going to be creating or restructuring the the workplace and the structure of the economy and the job market. For us specifically, we try to automate in the process as much as we can, but at the same time, it's not like at the same time, to be very frank, it's not like we want to be depending on AI solely.
mm,
Uh, we believe in using AI for higher efficiency, but it's not a substitute at all. Okay, so I can be using AI to automate my emails, the creation of my offers based on like the historical offers, all of that, all the processes that I don't want people to be hired to waste their time working on that. But the human mind, we're still going to be depending on the human mind, using AI to even challenge
yeah,
their thoughts and the way they think, all of that. But it's never, I don't think it's ever going to be a substitute.
absolutely. And it's never going to substitute relationships and in grow in the area of growth of a business as well. Um, So for let's talk about your growth. You started
Mm.
off obviously as a startup, and from another country. So when you first were bringing on your new clients, what were some of the challenges you faced? How did you get in front of them? How did you become visible, or how did you market yourself in order for them to
Okay.
find you, or for you to find them?
So about my growth, or are you talking about Sprintly's growth?
Sprintly's growth.
Okay, yeah. I'll tell you in general,
Mm,
um, about my own. like line of thought when it comes to growth, and then I'll tell you about Sprintly specifically.
Okay.
So there is a pattern, like since I was a very little girl till now, I never start when I'm ready. I start before I'm ready. Okay. And then I get ready along the way. You know what I mean? So I remember like I was never qualified, fully qualified for any job that I got, to be honest. Okay. But then each job that I got promoted like once or twice
Mm.
afterwards. Okay. So I work on bridging the gap really fast. So I remember when we started, okay, how we started Sprintly is first I started to connecting like different experts that can cover like all the angles of business because we work with founders from different angles of growth, right? You need like the sales, you need the business development, you need the finance, all of that, okay? And you need the investors relation because we support them in their investment as well. So I started first creating a small team. Our very first client was from Brazil, didn't speak English, not a single word. I mean, like we used to attend the meetings and having like a translator um, who's, I don't know, like his job here is, is he supposed to know all the information or not? What's confidential and what's not? But I mean, that was like a wild experience that he was focused on the EV industry, electric vehicle, and he's basically like using this technology and using like kinetic energy to reduce the dependency on like of frequent on like reducing the frequency of needing to recharge your vehicle. Um, and basically this guy um he wanted to raise like a $1 million as like his first pre-seed round from the US. And so what we have done is that we started working together. We started working on his product positioning and all the content on like all the angles of the business. Like he only has the technology, okay? And we did like all the business side, and we helped him seal that his target was 1 million in the first 6 months, and we helped him seal actually 5 million in the first 5 months while we were not ready. But we got ready, and we got ready by doing it. You know what I mean? And we were able to really exceed the expectation of our expectation and his expectation, to be honest, that he started even so we keep on like you keep really close to the clients, especially the ones that we really enjoyed working with. And uh and afterwards, like our growth was more of all the deals that we sealed. Basically they started as in with one email that said like, you have to meet this person. So someone would refer us, and the exciting part is that I noticed that all the founders that all the deals that we actually sealed, we sealed them from the first meeting. I know when the founder is going back and forth and when I have like multiple calls, I know that this is not going to be where we're taking it. Like it's going to be like a bit um consuming time wise. Um and in that case, like we always set the right expectations. You know what? This is how far we can support you, even on a friendly level. I don't want to be the one, if I have the option or I have the power to support you, and God give me this power. It's not like I want to drop the ball. I still want to support you, but I want to support you with a limited structure. And afterwards, like our growth started to be, we had to slightly pivot because this model wasn't really sustainable. That's why I was telling you, for example, we're working with entities on their portfolio. So we have, for example, with Saudi, we're working on like 12 startups in parallel. We have different teams working with them and supporting them. So we know like the plan.
Mm.
We know how to expect the revenue that we're going to be generating. Uh, yeah, so just to wrap it up or to say it in a more concise way, how we started when we had the basics, okay? And then we started having the first client was pure hard work and luck, okay? Because we monetized the same month that we announced about Sprintly. I have no idea what happened, but I mean, not everything has to make sense sometimes.
Right.
And then afterwards, we started having referrals from different people, and that went way far. And then afterwards, we started changing to have like more um, set the right forecast and to be able to build our financial models and all of that. We had to pivot the model to partner with entities that already have a portfolio and they're keen about their growth and their expansion. And we started working with them on supporting their portfolio instead of like working with just like one-on-one founders. Yeah.
Well, can you share with us and for our listeners how they can connect with you? Because after listening to our conversation, there might be some people that are like, I need to connect with
Yeah,
her and learn more. So can you tell them where to
sure.
go?
Okay, so they can always connect with the team on sprintlypartners.com, www.sprintlypartners.com. And I have my LinkedIn, Yousra Gaballah, and we're very responsive. So if they send us like an email on, they will find the email that they can reach out to on the website, or on our page on LinkedIn as well. We're very responsive. They can have even on the website, they can book a call right away, and someone from the team, it can be me or someone else from the team, are going to be jumping on a call right away. Not
Okay.
right away, like within the same
Yeah.
week.
Right. Perfect. So if you're watching us on YouTube, we say hello and thank you for being here with us. Um, if you know of anybody that would benefit from hearing this conversation today and learning more about Yusra and Sprintly partners, please share this episode with them. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, thank you. If you're so inclined to leave a review, we would love it, preferably 5 stars. That helps the platform know that this has been an interesting conversation and they will share it with more people. And that's our goal. Um, Go to sprintlypartners.com, go check it out, go book your call, or go connect with Yuchra on LinkedIn. We will have all of her contact information and all of her links inside the show notes. Before I let you go and we wrap up, is there anything that you'd like to share or say that I didn't get to ask you or we didn't talk about today?
Actually, Heidi, thank you so much. You have been a great listener, and yeah, I shared beyond like the structure of Sprintly and what we do. Like I feel like this is more like of a friendly chat, and
Yeah, it was amazing. And I'm grateful you shared all that
thank
information because we got to learn a lot
yeah.
about you and Sprintly, which is fantastic.
Because he gave this space as well, and as well like for everyone watching, if definitely if we have the ability or if we think that we can support you or add value to you, we would be honored to do that. uh, that's something that is, aside from the business, is super fulfilling for us, especially if you are working on like expanding and you have the aim to go beyond what you're doing today.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you, Yusra, for being here.
Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much.
listening to us and being here with us. And I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode of the Business Growth Spotlights.